Hello, everyone. This is the Kiltz Health live stream with Dr. Nelson. I am Dr. Nelson, coming to you from Central Florida. Please put in the chat where you're watching from. And today we have a special person here. He's going to talk to us about anything we ask him. Please put in the questions, your questions for Careman about Healing Humanity, the documentary, the community they have, and anything you want. All right. Let me go live on Instagram because I have to do that separately. And how are you doing today, Kerry?
I'm doing amazing. I'm grateful to be here with you, Dr. Nelson. Doing wonderful.
All right. And thank you very, very much for being here. A lot of people don't know what goes behind setting things up to do live stream. And I had a literally last minute cancellation. So I texted you and you said, fine, yeah, sure, I'll be there.
I will never say no to Dr. Nelson or Dr. Kiltz.
All righty. So let's start with this one. When is the documentary coming out?
Oh, we just ran out of time. No, here's the great news. We're done. We're literally 100% done. We filmed the documentary. We edited the documentary. We did a test screening here at Montello Theater and at a separate theater. We then got some feedback from the test screening. We edited that feedback, and we now have that edit. And we are literally, it should be less than a week before we make an announcement. We have plans and all of this, but we spent almost 3 years working on this, and before we finalize the paperwork and get everything, the attorney is reviewing the paperwork, is where we're at right now. So I'm so close to just want to say, you guys can watch it here, and this is how it's all going to be, but it's very, very close. I think within a week we'll make a big announcement. It's going to be out in theaters all over the world, and then it's going to be available for people to watch at home. And there's also going to be an option for if people can't pay for it. And eventually we want to have it just on YouTube and free for the whole world, because that was the plan all along, was to make it as accessible as possible for everyone. But I literally last night, I just watched the final version because we made a couple adjustments after our test screening here at the theater. So I'm excited for everyone to see it.
All right. If you have any questions for him, please put them in the chat. Now, it's likely, let's say, nothing is final until it's really final and done, but it's very likely you're going to use a distribution method like our friend Dave Feldman is using, and his company, to distribute the cholesterol code. And for those that came in late and don't see it in the chat, I am hosting the screening for the cholesterol code in Central Florida, and Dr. Ovadia is going to be hosting it in St. Petersburg. I'm going to put in the chat, and please go there and buy your tickets. In order to go with the process, there is a certain amount of time and a certain amount of tickets that need to be sold. Otherwise, it may be canceled. So I don't want to do that. So I just put the link in the chat.
That's so cool. I was going to say, Dr. Nelson, there's also a showing happening in Schaumburg, Illinois, that's hosted by Jenny Middich of the Cholesterol Code. And Jen and myself and Adam are going to attend that one.
When is that one?
That one is, I can't pull up my thing right now. I think it's in April. I want to say like April 13th. But if anyone wants to go, the best thing is, because I'm probably screwing this up, just Google Schaumburg, Illinois cholesterol code showing, and you should be able to find it. It's on a similar link that Dr. Nelson just posted. It's on Gather's website. But yeah, our plan is to do a similar release that they're doing, which is a really cool way of doing it. So we'll be able to have Healing Humanity in theaters all over the world. And we've done so many meetups all over the country. Like every place we've done a meetup, I don't think we'll have much of an issue filling up a theater and having someone host it. So Dr. Nelson, this is good experience for you with the cholesterol code, and we're hopeful that maybe you'll host one for Healing Humanity shortly after.
So, and we're planning with the Healing Humanity one, we're planning, and I say we because it's not myself only, and I haven't even told Alia, but we're going to do a little bit of a bigger thing, okay? For when your documentary comes out, and we'll have a showing maybe attached to some sort of meetup.
Yeah.
So
I'm hoping we can do a lot like that. It's the whole technology to do these showings on demand, like Cholesterol Code is doing in many of the theaters. It's really cool. We could actually do like a meetup ahead of time and then show the movie. Or we could show the movie and then afterwards, in some cases, in some theaters, you can actually do a Q&A where we could say like, hey, let's pull Dr. Kiltz in from Florida and have him on the screen, or Dr. Nelson, Dr. Kiltz, or Dr. Barry, and actually do a Q&A right there in the movie theater with people sitting in the audience, and they can see and back and forth and ask questions. So there's lots of little interesting features like that that we could take advantage of.
So I know that over the past 2.5 years, you've been asked a bunch of questions about the documentary, but take me a little bit through that moment. And we've been trying to pinpoint the date behind the scenes here, but it was either late spring, early summer that you decided to, let's make a documentary. How hard can that be?
Easy, right? Yeah.
Take me through what happened next, and
So
how soon did you realize it wasn't exactly as easy as you thought?
So I know you're a doctor, Dr. Nelson. I hope you can do some therapy with me right now too. We'll do a little talk therapy. Yeah, it was day 67. Emma and I were like, we should do a documentary. Exactly, like, how hard could that be? And honestly, this is what I was thinking, Dr. Nelson. Here's my phone. I'm like, these stories are so powerful. We're seeing incredible healing on YouTube, but why isn't there a documentary on Netflix or Amazon or HBO or one of these big streaming services? The stories are so powerful. I think the stories outweigh the medium. And so in my head, I'm like, I don't know, I'll just film it on my phone or something, but nobody's doing it. That was my thing. I'm like, and the reason I was excited about doing a documentary is because many, many years prior, I saw a documentary on Netflix called Fathead. And the guy that made it was, like you, Dr. Nelson, a stand-up comedian. And he knew nothing about doing documentaries. And he did it like with an old school almost camcorder, like a VHS camcorder. This thing was on Netflix though, but it was so strong because the doctors he had in it and the stories he had in it and the common sense, it was so powerful. So in my head, I was thinking of Fathead. Like we need a Fathead, which was for keto, but we need that for carnivore. And what I really was excited about was, I love movies, I love documentaries, but so many documentaries lately, it's all science. And you have to have the science. The science is important, but people get bored with science, with 2 hours of science, and they're zoning out. And I didn't find Carnivore because I watched someone talk about the science of carnivore. I found Carnivore because I saw an individual healing, and it was emotional, and it was raw, and it was powerful, it was real. And I'm like, that's what I want a documentary about. People that are healing, supported by experts and doctors, but the main spotlight is on the people and the individuals. So yeah, when I first announced it, I'm like, oh, how hard could that be? We'll just film it. And the crazy thing with that, Dr. Nelson, it's interesting you asked this because I recently rewatched that clip. It was me on my YouTube channel with my daughter, Emma, day 67. And when I said it, I had, I don't know, premonitions. Some of the things I said, it'd be really cool if we could get like, I don't know, like Dr. Barry, and maybe we find someone that's way overweight and we follow him for like a year. And then Emma was saying, maybe we find someone with, not just for weight, we find someone with type 2 diabetes or autoimmune disorders. So it's kind of crazy rewatching that 2.5 years later. And almost all of those things that we said, which were really naive, like, oh, yeah, we'll get Dr. Barry, we'll get Dr. Chafee, we'll get all these doctors. It's crazy to me. It all ended up happening. We'll find some guy and follow him for a year. We found Bill Knott and several other people as well. But most of what we mentioned in there happened. But yeah, it was long story, too short because I'm rambling now. It's way harder than I ever would have imagined. And I'm so thankful, grateful, blessed, relieved, taking a deep breath that we're done with the main documentary now, because it's one of the hardest things I think I've ever had to do my entire life. Definitely wouldn't have done it if I wasn't Carnivore, I'll tell you that.
So this has been, I believe, it has been an education for you, right? Because you've interviewed a lot of people and you've learned from a lot of people so many different things.
Yeah.
What is the biggest thing that you think you found out from one of those experts? What is the biggest thing that you learned from them?
Yeah, that's a great question. The biggest thing I learned is that when you're interviewing someone, it has nothing to do with the questions you ask or talking, and everything to do with just listening. And I've really found that to be true. Some of the best moments we have in the documentary aren't because I asked some brilliant question. It was more so because I just shut up and allowed that person to be comfortable and share their truth. There's really been something I learned along this process was there's a yearning for these individuals to tell their truth. And Adam said early on, this is something that was really powerful for me. He's like, Kerry, this is bigger than us. And that took a big relief off of me. And it's not just like something we say, it's literally true. It's bigger than us. Like, we set up the cameras, we do all of that. But ultimately, when you hear Bill Knott's story or Jeff DeProsperous or Lynn or any one of the 60 interviews that we did, it's the stories that are so powerful that really stand out. And the other thing I learned early on, we consulted with several people that have done documentaries in the past. I've done a lot of video stuff with YouTube, but documentaries are completely different. But one person I talked to early on, Chad, his name's Chad. Chad, if you're watching, he told me one piece of advice that saved me so much. And that advice was, if you're doing an interview and the person is getting emotional or they're really getting into their story, never, ever, ever interrupt them. And that is a huge mistake I would have made that frankly could have ruined several very important parts of the documentary, because Bill got really emotional. He was one of the first people we interviewed. And I just wanted to move the microphone, get up and go give him a hug and stop the whole thing. Because I'm like, he's crying. I'm just sitting here like a jerk staring at him while he's crying. Like, this is brutal. It's so hard to do. But in retrospect, Bill needed to do that. That was like therapeutic for him. Get this off his chest, like tell his story. And if I would have interrupted it, it would have stolen that from the audience. I think it would have stolen it from Bill, but that happened several more times. This is like turned into a really quite emotional documentary. Several of the stories have just been really powerful that way, where it's the hardest thing in the world. Just sit there and stare at someone while they're kind of breaking down. But that was some advice I got early on that really, really helped.
And I've seen some of the previews you've shown, different versions. Haven't had the chance to watch the whole thing. I will as soon as it comes out. But I think it's going to be powerful already. I think, and it's because you're not there trying to explain how, ketones go up and how you're documenting the stories. You're concentrating on the stories, and hopefully that impacts other people that can identify with that particular person that they're going to be watching at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to your earlier question, that was one thing that's been so hard about this entire process. And advice someone gave me earlier on, and that advice is you can't please everyone. So we said from the beginning, and we stuck to it, this documentary is, the spotlight is on people, supported by science and experts. We got 9 incredible doctors and experts in the documentary. So there's science and there's experts in there, but the main focus is the stories. But there's going to be people that watch this and they're like, yeah, but what about fiber, or what's happening to the ketones in the body on carnivore versus keto? And there's no way you can answer all of those questions in a 2-hour documentary. That's been the hardest part for us, is finding the balance of the story's mainstay supported with some of the science. But I'm really happy with what it came out as, because we learned when we did the test screening, it's achieving what we wanted. But the goal isn't to have someone watch this and be like, all right, I'm going to go immediately start carnivore right now, and I'm going to fix my metabolic health right now. The goal is for them to ask more questions and do their own research. On my YouTube channel, that's been one thing that always scared me. From time to time, I'd get people that are like, that's it, I'm doing carnivore. I'm like, no, like, I want you to, but do your research first. Like, really dig in there, because carnivore isn't just about eating animal products. There's nuance to it, and you can really screw yourself up if you don't know what you're doing getting into it. So that's really the goal, is to inspire people to want to ask more questions and then do more research. And then later have the series where we can really dig into some of those topics more, like heart disease. We talk about heart disease in the documentary. We've got Dr. Ovadia in the documentary to support it. But you could do 8 hours on heart disease. You could talk forever about it. And so there's no way we can answer all of those questions. And there's other documentaries out there that focus on the science more, which is great. And some people prefer just the science, but yeah, ours is the individuals supported by the science. But that was one of the hardest things over the last couple months, is balancing that out. And it's like, we could answer more questions, and now we're going to be like 7 hours long, and no one's going to watch it if the runtime's too long. We
do have a couple of questions already, but before I take any of those, one last question about you. You've decided to do this documentary, but what was the most impactful or significant change that you had personally?
Ooh, great question, Dr. Nelson. Definitely the depression going away, my mental health improvements on carnivore. That was the main reason I wanted to do the documentary too, because when I started talking about this on YouTube and hearing from so many other people, I don't think there's anything more hopeless in the world than depression. I think that's kind of the definition of depression. It's not like a dramatic thing. You're literally without hope. And I tried everything and it didn't work. So when my mental health cleared up, that is what I was most excited about. The other thing that was incredible for me was my congestive heart failure and my irregular heartbeat reversing, which maybe is going to allow me to live a much longer life where I would have died much younger or earlier. So it should probably be more significant, but honestly, the mental health improvement is the most significant change for me, because I had so many health issues, but I tried everything to fix my mental health. Like I was making deals and bargaining with God, anything I can do. I tried all the standard of care. I tried every medication. I tried therapy. Everything they told me to do, I tried for years and years, and it never helped. And the fact that this helped, and so quickly, and then so many other people pouring in with their stories, I'm like, the world needs to know about this, especially now in this day and age when you look at some of the statistics out there. It is jaw-dropping, the rates of depression, schizophrenia, bipolar, anxiety, and it's happening younger and younger to this next generation. So that was definitely the most significant change for me, my mental health improvements.
And it's, I think, a powerful story when you see that. In fact, when I decided to go carnivore, it was not after watching. I didn't even know, by the way, at that time, who Dr. Berry was, who Dr. Baker was, who Dr. Chafee was, Dr. Kiltz, Dr. Ovadia, Dr. Boss. You can mention them all. I didn't learn absolutely anything from them yet because I wasn't watching them. It was you interviewing someone whose major changes were twofold. One of them, yes, there has been some weight loss, and the other one, deep depression lifting. And I always think that that's a very powerful thing, because when someone feels hopeless, and I've been around probably since the age of 5, I've known about suicide, because someone, we used to go to church together. I was just a child, he was an adult, but it was someone I knew, and there was suicide there. And at the time, I didn't understand. As a physician, I can try to relate. When you lose hope, it is painful. Literally, depression hurts.
Mm.
And now, once I found this, I jumped right into it. However, I had been doing a very strict low carb diet for about 6 months, and I had done, I've known about Dr. Atkins diets for 35, 40 years probably, but I was doing at the time, and I just jumped into it. I've never had the keto flu. And you just mentioned that if someone asks you now, you would tell them go slow, but you didn't go slow when you found out. You jumped into it, right?
I did jump in, but I did do keto on and off for years. So I had some experience.
All right. So this is just a comment, and then we're going to take a couple of questions. Hello from West Virginia. Jeff's wife is saying the most overweight state in the U.S. Maha bill was just passed by state legislature. I am really hoping local doctors are forced to get CEU in nutrition. And there's a little bit of a misconception about, do we get training in nutrition? We do get some training in nutrition, and some people do even a bachelor's degree, master's degree in nutrition, but the focus is not on what the keto and carnivore community focuses on. So just because you have a nutrition training, and you might understand concepts a little bit better because you went to school, read a book, took a test, but the metabolic health focus is not the same as what's in most schools. All right, so let me take a question. If I miss a question, please put it again. So George, who has a self-appointed ambassador to
UK ambassador George. George, Dr. Nelson, for this whole release distribution through the different theaters, like Cholesterol Code's doing, you have a host or ambassador or captain, like you're doing, like you're hosting one. And I don't want to elect George, but if George is interested, George is incredible. George is like so gung-ho. I'm like, George, you should be the Healing Humanity ambassador of ambassadors. Like you're leading the team. Like I bet you if we left it to George, we would be in every theater in the world in short order.
Well, he's about to organize this for you. He's asking, can we have teams of volunteers to represent us in the theater lobbies for questions and answers? And that is a great idea.
You know, it's so good. Just real quick. So I mentioned Dr. Nelson. For those that don't know, we did a test screening here at Montello Theater and then at another movie theater to the general public. Like we bribed these people. We paid them $15 to come in blind. We did newspaper ads. These weren't my carnivore audience. We hid it from the carnivore audience. We did a newspaper ad. People came in. These people were clueless. Many of them are like, I don't know what I'm here to watch. I just want the $15. And long story short, we allotted a 15-minute Q&A after the documentary played right above my head. Went on for 2.5 hours. We had to ask people to leave. We're like, we got a movie started. We had to go. Dr. Nelson, it was fun. You joined me on the Thursday night, and we give you all the hard questions because I can't answer these, right? I'm learning as I go. But at this Q&A, I could answer them because these people were so new to carnivore. They were asking the most basic of questions. They were good questions, but just like, what about chicken? Can I eat chicken? Things like that. So the fact that we got that many questions from the general public means we're definitely going to get a lot more when we do more showings, which is what we want.
The one and only Nicole. Hi, Nicole. Is asking, is Dr. Nelson a carnivore Uncle Fester?
That's not nice.
You mentioned before the stand-up comedian. Usually on our live streams, I try not to make too many jokes, but I joke around with other people, so I can take it. Keton Fuel Violin Girl. Keton Fuel Violin Girl. Will Healing Humanity be available on DVD?
That's a great question. The goal from day one was to make it as accessible and far-reaching as possible. We don't currently have plans for that. Our plan is theaters, streaming at home, and then available, accessible like on YouTube or anywhere eventually. That's how these usually go. It's usually a hybrid, and people get upset. Like, why don't you just do it here, now? Depending on where you release it. Like, say if Netflix wanted to do this, you might not be in Europe for a while. Maybe it's in the US first, and they have all of these weird rules. So these are always hard questions to answer, but I don't know on that one. But if you can't watch it on DVD, you'll be able to, at some point, just pop it on YouTube or stream it from somewhere.
And I think DVD is already a technology on its way out, because most things that you want to watch, you can stream straight into your phone and your TV, all that. So, all right. Larry Bryan is asking, Kerry, when you're finished and the documentary's out, will you make another one or do the stories you have been talking about? What are the plans for after the documentary?
So if I make another documentary, my wife will leave me. That's official. No, after the documentary's out, my true hope is that we can work on the series, which I'm even more excited about than the documentary itself, where the series will be an episode for every major health issue. So if you have a loved one with cancer, here's a whole hour-long episode on cancer with a cancer doctor and individuals that have used metabolic therapies for their cancer treatment. Episodes for depression, autoimmune disorders, all of that. And the thing is, we have much of that filmed already. We filmed so much footage, which was another reason this was so hard, Dr. Nelson. And I'm a rookie. I've never done a documentary before. I'm like, just film everything we possibly can. Like, we're out here. There's no cost for film. It's just memory cards. So we filmed so much that we have 400 hours worth of footage. We have enough right now to do the mental health episode, the aging episode, and a cancer episode. We just don't, it's so expensive to edit it together that we're focusing all of that budget on the main documentary and now marketing the main documentary and getting it out to the world before we invest any of the money that we have left for the series. So
definitely the plan sounds like it's going to be some sort of shorter versions, episodes focus on a particular health issue.
Yeah, and not just the health issues, but also different topics. I'm excited about those too. Like, you probably heard, maybe you guys have had him on your channel, Hal Cranmer, the gentleman in Arizona that's running the long-term care facilities. Yes. He's one that I really wish we could have interviewed for the main documentary, but it just didn't work out. But we're hoping to film an episode all about what he's doing. 1 hour, Hal Cranmer, seniors and a proper human diet. Episodes, I have a gentleman named Arn, who's a veteran, and he's had incredible healing in his mental health and PTSD through a carnivore diet, and he's coaching other veterans, and I want to do a whole episode on that. So episodes on health issues, but also topics. Kids and carnivore is another one. Well, like, we could go on forever. There could be so many episodes when you really start thinking about it. Families and carnivore, there's so many out there.
This gentleman that you mentioned with the assisted living facilities, Dr. Tro and his team are going to be doing a study in conjunction with them. Obviously, whether it's a documentary or trying to do a study, it's not something that the results will be available in just 6 months. So a year, a couple of years, hopefully we'll have a lot more information. I think the internet and the social media, even though it can be risky and have its negatives, unfortunately, it has helped and it will continue to help to spread the word on these things. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Like that stuff with Hal Cranmer should be front page news. There's a couple of YouTube videos out there about it, but there's literally people, they go to those long-term care facilities. That's their final home. And that's it for the majority of people, but not the people that are going to Hal Cranmer's. They're literally getting sent home. There's a couple individuals Adam and I have already talked to that we could film. One guy went back home and he's surfing now. So the fact that this isn't front page news, I'm not going to shut up about it. We're going to make it front page news. We're going to just keep talking about it because there's so many people out there that they would be doing this if they knew, or at least if they had it as a tool in their toolbox.
Are you a physician, Kerry?
No, I just play one on TV.
So the point being, you don't have to be a physician to bring to light the changes that can happen when you change your diet and use a proper human diet, right?
Right.
Susan Hogg, carnivore and autoimmune diseases discuss. Thank you. You have already interviewed a lot of people, maybe not as many as Dave Mack, but a lot of people, right? Have you interviewed people who have put in remission lupus?
Yeah.
Rheumatoid arthritis?
Oh, yeah.
Multiple sclerosis?
Yes. Several.
And I can go down the list. I know the answer, of course, because you've interviewed many, we've interviewed many here. Autoimmune, and I'm doing some deep dives on those as well. Definitely improvement. I met someone, without making a long story too long, but the last person that I met with multiple sclerosis, she's had incredible improvement in just 2 weeks. Went back to the gym, which she had not been able to do because of fatigue, which is a major symptom of multiple sclerosis. I'm going to leave it there, but
I just wanted to add one thing. I'm not a doctor, but autoimmune disease, like multiple sclerosis, we could do a whole video on this. It's, again, I'm not a doctor, but the thought that autoimmune disease is the body attacking itself is just something I can't wrap my brain around, because I don't know any other instance where the immune system is attacking itself. Here's the thing with autoimmune, when people ask me, or multiple sclerosis in particular, the mainstream, like I think if I went to a mainstream doctor, they'd say, it doesn't matter that all of these people that Dave Mack interviewed, Diane Ladd, people I've interviewed, have found healing for multiple sclerosis on Carnivore. It's anecdotal and there's no long-term studies. That, to me, Dr. Nelson, is crazy, because what we're suggesting is not some medication or some crazy thing. It's like, maybe you should just try eating a proper human diet. Try it for 30 days. We know with multiple sclerosis, it's the myelin sheath getting damaged. The myelin sheath is made out of fat and cholesterol, and it's also inflammation for multiple sclerosis. I don't know any better way of getting rid of inflammation and getting more fat in your diet than eating a carnivore diet. For me, it just blows my mind that there's people out there suffering with MS, lesions on their brain, mobility issues, and many of them, because of their doctors, they'll say, I can't try carnivore. That's just anecdotal. There's no science, but it's like, we're just suggesting eat a proper human diet. It's an elimination diet. See what happens. I know if I was diagnosed with MS, I would want to try everything I possibly could. And if there was something that was just natural I could try, maybe just give it 30 days and see 60 days. I would want to do that.
This is the way humanity has eaten for most, if not all, of existence. I'm not going to even mention a particular number of years because, if you believe in evolution versus creation, you might have different perspective on how long we've been here. But regardless, all its existence, this is the normal diet. Yes, we have added plants, but we always ate heavy meat. So being a vegan, which is a term only from the past 50 years or less, didn't exist before. And even though there is some historical evidence, there were people who didn't eat animals, vegetarians, they still had eggs and dairy and other sources of some of the vitamins that they need that it doesn't exist in plants. Regarding autoimmune, without getting into a class here, autoimmune issues, it is a little bit of a misnomer. Yes, the body is attacking some tissues of our own body, but it's because antigens that came into your body, and 99%, 99.99999% of those antigens were from plants, not from eating red meat, by the way.
Right.
Plants. They snuck in, your body's trying to get rid of them, and they look so much like some of the tissues in our body that our body then starts attacking those. But it's not that it's intentionally trying to attack our own body. It's just what's called molecular or cellular mimicry. All righty. Just a comment on this DJ Magic Man. It'd be a great idea to interview some house tenants that have healed and what they're doing with their newfound life.
Yeah, that's the plan. And like I said, Adam's already lined up a couple, but there's one gentleman in particular. He's literally surfing. I'm like, wouldn't that be so cool to show the before in the home? And now he's out there surfing on the beach and get some footage of that and share his words and his story. So that's the goal. That's the long-term goal.
Do you have a clear plan on how these follow-up episodes or stories are gonna come out?
Yes and no. We have it all outlined. Like I literally have an outline for every major health issue and who will be in it and where we have some holes that we have to fill in and do some more interviews. The big unknown is honestly just the budget and the money. That's been the other hardest part about all of this. People have no idea how expensive it is. And I'm the cheapest person in the world. Like everything that Adam and I have done has been incredibly diligent and frugal. Like we filmed Dr. Barry with me and Adam. Other documentaries, like the animal documentary, for example, I heard they had like 30 people doing an interview. There's a sound guy, there's an electrician, there's the grip, there's a guy with the headphones on, and it's like me and Adam. So that's been the biggest part is the budget. So that's the biggest barrier. If we had unlimited budget, we'd be done with several episodes of the series right now. It's just a matter of editing them together. And our editor, John, is focused on the documentary. Well, he's just about done with it now, but the budget to give to John isn't there at this point because now that the documentary is done, we have a little bit of budget left in the bank and we either put it towards the series, we'll have nothing for the marketing of the movie. That's the most expensive part with any documentary or any movie is marketing it. We haven't even hit the expensive part yet. That's the worst part of it. Like you could have the greatest film in the world. We could have had Martin Scorsese direct Healing Humanity. Could be the greatest thing ever created. Maybe it would go on to win many Oscars if Martin Scorsese directed it, but no one will watch it if you have no marketing for it, if you don't get the word out for it. And so that's our challenge right now is allocating our budget to marketing the main documentary. Hopefully the main documentary is a success and people are interested in learning more and following up and doing more, and then we can move into the series afterwards.
At Faith Focused Food Freedom, this is Karen from Lakeland, Florida. She's asking, how were you first introduced to carnivore? what was your initial reaction to hearing about it?
Yeah, I was first introduced to carnivore through my hero, Dante Ferrigno, who was sharing his individual story. Just real quick, my wife and I were watching YouTube. I saw this video of this huge guy. He reminded me of myself, depression, IBS, arthritis. He had many of the same health issues I had. And he said, I'm going to eat this meat-only diet and see what happens. And I'm like, this guy's insane. This is crazy. But in my head, because I knew about keto through that documentary I mentioned earlier, I'm like, this will work. He's just talking about a strict keto diet, but it's insane. You can't eat meat. You're going to get bored. It's going to be expensive. I'll clog my arteries. I have heart disease. So I went on and I did a bunch more research after watching Dante. But my initial reaction was, this is crazy. Long story, way too long. Then my wife and I fast forwarded and we saw that video was 2 years old from Dante. We watched his most recent video, complete transformation. And I'm not just talking about weight loss. You could see him glowing, full of joy and happiness. And that was what really convinced me.
This is not exactly a question, but well, I don't know if he's asking if you are using AI for marketing or suggesting that you use AI for marketing. But
yeah, we're trying to kind of steer clear of AI. There was some temptation along doing the documentary just for getting like B-roll shots. For example, say you need a shot of a grocery store, very expensive to get a permission to go film in a grocery store, and you could use AI for something like that. But we chose early on to keep AI out of it, and so everything that we filmed in the documentary, all the voices, all of the video is 100% real. I don't know about using it for marketing. We have tinkered with it a little bit for like promotion stuff, language, like how to phrase stuff. But yeah, I'm not sure on that one.
Okay. As you have gone along this ride, have you found when you're actually telling people and objections come up, what is the most common one?
Usually it is cholesterol. You're going to have a heart attack. I've had so many people say to me after they learned I was starting carnivore, just wait. I want to see what your cholesterol numbers are after you have your blood work done. That's usually the big one. My argument back to that, supported in large part by Dr. Nelson and some things I've learned from you, also from what I've learned from Dr. Ovadia as well, is it's crazy to me that is the first thought. That was mine too, so I get it. But that's the first thought for everyone is cholesterol, when there's literally like, 10, 11 other things that are more indicative of potentially having heart disease. So having poor metabolic health, insulin resistance, inflammation, being pre-diabetic. There's so many other things that are going to cause you to be more likely to have heart disease versus having high cholesterol numbers. The biggest thing I learned from Dr. Ovadia too was heart disease is from insulin resistance and inflammation. And I don't know of any way better in the world other than fasting to get rid of insulin resistance and inflammation than eating a carnivore diet. Unless you're fasting, there's no better way to do it. So I'm not worried about those things. And I think we've been misled so much on so many things, in particular, heart disease, going back to the days of Ansel Keys, and people keep parroting the same thing. It hasn't been true for decades, but there's still that dogma out there, and it's hard for people to wrap their brain around it.
And there are still a lot of people defending that, not, having a hard time believing that what they have known now for all their lives is actually not true.
Yeah. That's one that blows my mind too, is it's like, sadly, I have a lot of loved ones that have died. My uncle died of a massive heart attack. My grandfather's stroke. None of them were eating a carnivore diet. They were eating the standard American diet. And when I look back at their lives, they both had an incredible amount of inflammation, and I'm sure insulin resistance. They were eating standard American diet. They were overweight. They definitely weren't eating a carnivore diet. I Interesting too, like we interviewed so many people for the documentary. One person we interviewed, one of my favorites, she's just amazing, G Brown, Hanging with the Browns, G and Frederick. And G said to me in the documentary, she said, Kerry, people keep telling me I'm going to die of a heart attack. And I tell them, give me a contract that says I will get 10 more years on Carnivore and then I'm going to die on year 10. Or you can go back to the standard American diet. She's like, I will sign that contract. I won't even blink an eye. I'm not even going to think about it for a second. I feel so much better eating a proper human diet. I don't want to go back to what I was doing before. So I thought that was an interesting perspective on it as well. Because I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty much the same way. But for me, every one of my measurements for my heart has drastically improved. I guess if you look at only the LDL cholesterol, then some people would argue it didn't. But my CAC score is 0. My advanced lipid panel showed the good particles instead of the bad particles. And my congestive heart failure reversed. Like my heart echo, I had 50 measurements on my heart echo before Carnivore, 50 measurements after. Nearly every single one of them improved. The stroke volume of my heart, the thickness of the wall of my heart, the size of my heart, all of those metrics improved on Carnivore. So I know I'm just an anecdote, but yeah, we've been so misled. The biggest thing that makes me mad about all of that, Dr. Nelson, I think I've talked to you about this before, but I was on statins for I think almost 15 years, and who knows if the side effects I had were from the statins or the other 10 or 15 medications I was on. But I had muscle aches, I had brain fog, I had memory issues, which are a lot of the reported side effects of statins. But I could have had a CAC scan for $50 done. And if I would have had that 15 years ago, I would have been like, I'm not going to take the statin right now. Maybe I'll get another CAC scan in a couple of years and see how I'm doing. But my doctors never, you're one of the doctors, Dr. Ovedi is one of the doctors, talks about CAC scans, talk about advanced lipid panels, talk about insulin resistance and inflammation. But none of my doctors ever talked about that. My doctors only said, here's a statin for you. Here's some medication. Here's some flecainide. Here's some metoprolol. Here's some more medication for your heart you can go on.
All righty. Questions, please put them in the chat. If I have missed any questions, please do it again. Oh, I have our friend Dr. Ana Rosa watching. Hello, Ana. Dr. Ana. And she's on Instagram, so I can't show the comment, but let's do an imaging episode she's suggesting for the follow-up.
Yeah.
Episodes.
Oh, that's great. There's so many we could do. I was thinking about, I had Dr. Sean O'Mara on my channel, and he talks about visceral fat and getting imaging of your visceral fat, things like that. There's so many. Kids and Carnivore is a big one that I really want to jump into, because so many people we interviewed in the documentary, well, not so many, but several of them had children that are eating a proper human diet and just absolutely thriving. And that makes me happy, because when I found healing, I'm like, I'm good. I'm a grown man. Like, I could just move on. But then I look at my kids and the next generation coming up, and they're eating a lot worse than I was. You know, it's like, where are they going to be when they get to the point that I was my sickest? I don't know if they keep on this path that they're on.
Oh, right. What do you think about the changes that we've been experiencing here in the United States in the food guidelines?
Yeah. I think what we're seeing in the United States is incredible on one hand, but it's only going to do so much, because I believe that it's up to the individual to want to change. We can change the guidelines and the recommendations in the food pyramid. I think it's amazing and incredible for awareness, because there's some people that just don't know. They're like, they've been told you got to eat low fat and you got to count your calories, and that's the only way you can lose weight, and you got to go off of this food pyramid. So I think it's great for awareness, but ultimately it's up to the individual to decide. It would be incredible if more changes came about in terms of what's actually being fed to our children at schools. Because that's one hard thing I've talked to a lot of parents about. They're like, you know, I want to feed my kid a proper human diet or feed them better. And they go to school. Some kids go to school and they get multiple meals there. And most of those are horrifying. It's just like processed garbage. It's crazy. One other change I would love to see in the future is, I don't tinker around with politics or anything like that too much. I really don't know. I don't have enough energy to focus on that stuff. I try to focus on what I have control over, but it seems like there's a lot of government subsidies for like corn, for example. If you look at corn, you have high fructose corn syrup, which in Wisconsin, if I fly my drone up, it's just endless cornfields. And when I see that, when I'm flying my drone, I'm just imagining a lot of that's going to processed foods, high fructose corn syrup into the processed foods. And a lot of that's getting subsidized. And then meanwhile, I look at my neighbor who's right down the road from me. He's a 6th generation farmer. He does regenerative farming. The cows are natural on natural grass. Grass-fed, grass-finished. It's the most, you drive by, there's birds flying through there, squirrels, cows. It's like the most natural thing in the world. But this guy, my neighbor, he's barely getting by. Like, I doubt he makes minimum wage. He works a full-time factory job just to pay the bills. But he's so passionate. Dr. Nelson, I went to church with him for years. Never said a word. Like, he was always so quiet. And one day I went to his house to buy some meat from him. They opened up a farm store. And I said, can I interview for YouTube? He just lit up. Anything talking about farming, that's his passion. And but he's making pennies on the dollar. So if we could have future changes, like with the government or subsidizing things, give that corn money to these farmers that are feeding us the proper human diet. This guy, I just worry so much. Like my neighbor Aaron, when he goes to retire, who's going to raise their hand and say, I want to do that. I want to work for pennies on the dollar, underappreciated, while I have to work 12 hours a day in a factory or a plant down the road because I can't pay the bills. So yeah, sorry, I'm rambling now. I think it's great for awareness. I'll also say I'm amazed at how quick it's happening. When I announced the documentary 2.5 years ago, I thought it would be decades before we'd see anything in the government close to talking about eating a proper human diet or changing the food pyramid. So all of that's incredible for awareness, but ultimately it's up to the individual.
Yeah. I would say, unfortunately, politics has hijacked the subject. And we're not here to talk about politics, we're talking about health. And if you remember the 70s, or at least go back and study this, the early 70s, mid 70s, farmers were starving, having problems with growing their crops, and the government started subsidizing. Whenever the government starts heavily subsidizing any industry, eventually creates a problem. If you don't believe me, just look at student loans and universities.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unintended consequences.
Unintended consequences. And unfortunately, that has been the case. All right. Let me read this comment. Coach Juliet Edens, people don't want to get rid of the junk, so they push back with "you'll get a heart attack." It's just a defense mechanism for them, even if they see us losing weight, looking healthy, and off meds.
Yeah.
And by the way, Dr. Anna Gratitude came into the YouTube. She just made a comment here, and I can't find it right now, but she studied with Sotomayor, by the way. That was part of the comment. All right, so let's take some more questions. TKH 22. Did you start Carnivore immediately after watching the video, or did it take you a few weeks to work your way to Carnivore?
So for me, it was relatively soon after. It wasn't that minute I watched Dante's video, because in my head, I'm like, this is great for Dante, but I have congestive heart failure. I will have a heart attack, because I was under the mindset that meat is going to clog my arteries. Fatty meat cholesterol is going to clog my arteries. So I did more research after that. And then I found Dr. Barry, and I found a great video by Dr. Ovadia talking about heart disease on Diary of a CEO. And I'm like, this guy's a heart surgeon and he's advocating for eating a carnivore diet. He eats a carnivore diet himself. After I did my research, I started, and that's what I advocate for everyone. Don't just jump right into carnivore. There's some nuance to it for sure. And a lot of people I see that jump right in ultimately end up failing because they're eating lean chicken, or they're not getting enough electrolytes, or they're missing sort of some of the framework around it.
Rick is asking, Charter Mopar, will Kerry take the heart attack burger challenge?
I accept. I need more info. I apologize. So I just did a video, Dr. Nelson. I did KFC chicken at home, and I used Rick's heart attack chicken recipe. And I credited Rick in the video, and I linked to him, and I shouted him out because he's been talking about the heart attack chicken forever. And it was incredible. I rarely do chicken on Carnivore, and I think I'm going to be doing it more regularly now. I've had issues with chicken in the past, but what is the deal with the heart attack burger? Are we deep frying it in tallow?
It's basically the same as the chickens, but doing a burger.
Just drop it in some
patty
tallow
on beef tallow. I believe so. Yes.
Rick, I accept. I'll do 2 of them.
Have you?
I did a deep fried. I did a deep fried chuck roast once. I sous vide it, and then I deep fried it in beef tallow. But I haven't done a burger yet.
I have a sous vide. I haven't used it.
It's amazing, Dr. Nelson, but it's one of those things. It's like, man, carnivore is so easy, and now I got to spend hours sous videing and searing, but it is really good.
Susan Hogg says Dr. Nick Norwitz has some great videos on nuances with metabolism regarding keto and carnivore diets.
Yeah, he's got
very
a great
good. He does a lot of good content. All right, next question here. We did that. All right. Uncle Charlie asks, some people say sugar does not feed all kinds of tumors. Is that true or false? The sugar feed all tumors. What have you learned?
What have I learned? Well, there's different types of cancers and they behave differently. I don't get into the nuance of all of that. When I ever get a cancer question, I always suggest go check out Professor Thomas Seyfried. You can actually email him, tell him the type of cancer you have. He'll send you a packet of information. But if it were me, if I had a tumor, any type of tumor, I would still be doing a carnivore diet. And it's not because I'm doing a documentary and I'm biased. It's because I believe I believe cancer, from what I've learned, feeds on glucose and glutamine. And so I'd want to eliminate those things. There's some weird cancers, I guess, that maybe behave a little bit differently. But I think I've learned from Professor Seyfried that chronic inflammation can damage your mitochondria and lead to cancer. And so getting rid of sugar for that reason, getting rid of the inflammation, getting rid of seed oils, anything that's inflammatory in my diet, the best way to do that, in my opinion, would be eating a carnivore diet. And then the last thing I'd say is I get questions sometimes like, would carnivore help with X? And then it's some random disease. And my answer is always yes. And it's because I overhype carnivore, but it's also because, like, if you're doing carnivore and you fix your gut microbiome, you now have more energy, your sleep improves, your immune system's stronger, your insulin resistance is gone, your inflammation goes away, you heal your fatty liver, you are setting yourself up for healing regardless of what the disease, issue, or ailment is. Other than fasting, I don't think there's anything better you could be doing to set yourself up for healing, regardless of what the issue is. So,
well, Dr. Kiltz talk about faith, fat, and fasting. We're about to end here, but in case you're here and you don't know who this man is or what his channel is, Homestead How, he started the channel doing homestead videos. It has now turned into a whole enterprise regarding the documentary and carnivore. So go and check it out. For those of you who are members of the Kiltz Mighty Tribe community, at 1.5 hours, 5:30, we'll be in our Zoom call, okay? So thank you, Kerry, for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Yeah, I just want to say real quick, huge thank you, Dr. Nelson and Dr. Kiltz. You both have been incredible supporters of Healing Humanity. You've come to all of our meetups, and I really appreciate it. So thank you so much for having me.
All right.